Hi Neda, how are you?
Hi Adrian, good, how are you?
Lovely.
Thank you so much for coming and joining me here.
Oh, yeah, my pleasure
I'm really,
entirely.
really excited to have you. I really enjoyed your paper. It was very interesting because it tackles and showcases and gives us a lot of insight into the insight function in a big client-side organization.
Yes.
And I think largely you talk a lot about optimizing that function and kind of optimizing the process of getting the insights and transforming that into action and the time between that, so the process and time and effectiveness of that. Can you give our online audience who unfortunately have missed your presentation, for example, or haven't read your paper just yet, what's the context of that? What spurred this research project?
Right. So we realized, Neda, that when you operate at scale, very often by the time you get to the insight with all the rigor of research in the traditional way, that research and that insight is irrelevant because the underlying market and consumer has changed so dramatically that insight is no longer valid, and that's why insight sometimes gets a bad name.
Yeah.
So what we realized is when you have periods of discontinuous change, periods of transformation where markets and consumers themselves don't know how rapidly they're going to transform, you need similar discontinuous and transformative methods of research as well. So we set ourselves the constraint of, while we plan for our customer and marketing strategies as a large conglomerate for the next 5 years, how do we do it in a way that really looks deeper and faster into the future, but does it more efficiently and with less error and less cost. And as you can imagine, these are big challenges.
Yeah.
And while we could have gone in the usual survey method, we had a land mass of 3.2 million square kilometers across India, the Indian subcontinent, to cover. So had we gone the traditional route, we would have either never been able to do it, or by the time it had completed, the underlying market would have changed. So we actually met with our partners, Nielsen and The Sound, to say, how do we create this dance and this tango of big and small data? And for us, big data meant using NASA's Earth Observatory and Goddard Space Flight Center satellite imagery data, and using geoprocessing and geomodeling to look at nighttime luminosity or nighttime radiance, which is the value of light reflected from Earth in the night, to spot where development was happening the fastest and with the greatest density. And then use econometric modeling as well as neural networks to map that geographic data with demographic data. But to go one step further and then create indices of wavelengths or different wavelengths of spectral bands which spot for you where construction is happening over periods of years. So you know that this urban plot is growing faster than the other urban plot. But we didn't stop there. We realized that big data can only tell you so much. You have to verify that big data. We actually went down to a micro market catchment level and met these consumers who had greater intensity of purpose and urgency around change, and spoke to them about what their future would look like. So it's through the eyes of the 30,000 square feet, but also the 1 square kilometer, and also the one individual inner catchment, that we're trying to divine what that future might be like and how we can be ready for it before everyone else.
And what came out of it? What did you find?
Well, what we're finding is that these old assumptions of socioeconomic classification are so rigid and outdated, because if Neda belongs to one socioeconomic class today, she may not and does not want to remain in that socioeconomic class in the future. She's not just looking for improving her circumstances, she's looking for interclass mobility to break and shatter that socioeconomic ceiling. So what we found is when you talk to consumers like that at that level, you're able to tell the future through their eyes rather than how you look at them. And by doing that, but also marrying it with large scale, we can now take much more confident decisions on where to sample our products, where to test our concepts, where to buy into real estate so we can set up our stores, and where to build great relationships with trade and suppliers for the future. So it's all about traveling into that future faster and being future ready.
Incredible. So I have to ask, apart from your paper, unfortunately I'm running out of time.
No worries.
But you're also, a big supporter of ESOMAR, and you share oftentimes a lot of incredibly interesting insights. And you had joined us, I think, at our latest client summit.
That's right, in Dublin, yes.
How did you enjoy that? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
ESOMAR's events, all of them, but especially the Congress and especially the Client Fusion event in Dublin, is exceptional in the sense that it brings together creativity, content, as well as constraints in a very market real fashion, in the sense of bringing it all together in a coherent picture that you can really learn about new things, but do so in a pragmatic way, in a way that you really learn about different disciplines all at once. And really that's the need of the hour. No one methodology, no one brand, no one company is going to solve all the wicked problems that brands and businesses face today. So to have ESOMAR as the touchstone where all of this congregates and all of this fuses together so beautifully and so seamlessly is, amazing. I think, every business's and every marketer's dream, to be honest.
I'm very excited to hear that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Lovely talking to you.
Thank you. No, absolutely. An absolutely fascinating paper. I wish I had more time to talk to you about that. I highly recommend for you guys to read it and watch the presentation on demand in case you've missed it this morning. Thank you, Adrian, for taking oh my God, thank you, Adrian, for taking the time and sharing some top-line results from that. And hopefully then maybe see you at our next event as well.
Yes, I can't wait for it. And thank you so much for having me,
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you.